Hi, I'm Dave Liss with the IMF Fitness Center, powered by Aquila. Today in the Let's Move podcast, Jesse Havens, an intern with Aquila in the IMF Fitness Center, will teach you how to start, build, and succeed in a weight resistance training program. So step away from your screens, give a listen, and get ready to move. Jesse Havens has been a personal trainer for nearly 3 years. Previously, he managed physical fitness training programs for military members while serving in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years in the United States and in duty stations across the Middle East. He holds additional specialist certifications from NASM in the areas of corrective exercise, weight loss, and women's fitness. Jesse is also completing a degree in kinesiology from George Mason University. Welcome, Jesse.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, how do you know which types of exercises to use if you're new to weight training? And
So if you're a beginner or you're just starting out in strength training, then it's important to think about focusing on basic movements. So this would be exercises such as a bench press or a squat, and these use your major muscles. So for instance, your chest muscles on the bench press and your quadriceps and hamstrings, among others on the squat. So this is as opposed to performing more isolation movements, which would be like bicep curls, where you're only working your biceps when you're performing that movement. Not saying that it's bad to ever do those or something, but when you're just starting out, you're going to get more bang for your buck focusing on those basic movements using major muscle groups all in the same exercise. And then with that, it's also important to remember the exercises you really need to focus on, how you're able to execute those movements and basically perfecting your form, which takes a lot of practice over time. So just focusing on the basics will set you up in the future where you might want to add, there's lots of different specialty machines out there if you're in a gym or other advanced exercises that you could do later on.
what is the ideal order of exercises that should be performed?
So if you're just starting out, you want to focus on performing the most intense movements first. And so those are going to be, like we just talked about, the movements using major muscle groups. So going back to that bench press where you're working the chest muscles, or the squat, working your lower body, you're going to really use a lot of energy during those movements. So it's kind of the theory that you're going to want to spend all your energy at the beginning of the workout when you have the most to give, and you're performing those harder exercises that are more taxing first.
How many exercises should you perform when starting off a weight training program?
You want to focus on about 8 to 10 is a good guideline per session. And I know right now, because of pandemic conditions, not everybody has access to barbells or full gym equipment. So some examples of exercises that you can even do at home or with limited equipment. So we'll start with dumbbells. So if you have a pair of dumbbells, you could perform movements such as a chest press, either lying if you have a bench, or any other flat surface like a table will work, and that'll focus on the chest muscles. You can work on bent over rows to target the back muscles, and an overhead press with dumbbells would focus on your shoulders. Dumbbell curls would work your biceps. Dumbbell overhead extensions would focus on your triceps. Dumbbell squats, which you could either do held close to your collarbone, or you could hold them out to the side of your legs like you're holding suitcases. That would focus on the major muscles of your lower body, such as quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes. And then an exercise to focus on your hamstrings would be the dumbbell stiff leg deadlift, So again, that's a variation of the traditional deadlift. And in this one, your knees are staying slightly bent. Your arms are straight with the weight. You let the dumbbells move towards the floor. And then you're only going as far down as your chest can still stay up. So it's kind of like a toe touch stretch, except you have the weight in your hands. So this will focus on your hamstrings. And some other equivalents to this, if you only have your body weight to work with, for the chest, you could do push-ups. You could do rows with household items, such as, bags of rice to target the back. You could do downward push-ups, which is where your hips are going to be up instead of flat, and this will be targeting the shoulders. You could do curls with, again, like the bag of rice or other items to target the biceps. You could use a chair or a table or any other such surface to work on your triceps. You could do bodyweight squats just with the air, no weight required. Lunges can help focus on your hamstrings as long as you're taking longer strides. And again, as a reminder, that's where you're alternating the leg that's squatting down. And just regular crunches will work to target abdominal muscles.
Do you have to do multiple sets of the same exercise before going to another exercise, or do you do one exercise after another, moving down the list of exercises?
I would recommend, if you're starting out, to go from one exercise to the next. So you're performing one set of one exercise, and then you're moving to the next exercise, and then all the way down the list. And a lot of times this would be done in what's called a circuit fashion. So after you do your first set of every exercise, you would move to the top of the list again and then repeat that circuit. So that's usually a pretty effective way to do it for people who are just starting out. It's going to help your recovery in between the same exercise, because obviously you're doing different exercises using different muscles before you go back to that same exercise. Another option that you can use, if you're comfortable with doing the circuit style training, is you could try doing the sets for one exercise all together. So if say it's 2 sets of one exercise, do those, and then you move on to the next exercise.
How many sets of each exercise should be done?
A good range to shoot for would be between 2 and 3 sets per exercise. And this is usually ideal for even if you're new to strength training, as it's not really required yet to see benefits. It's not required that you perform, say 6 sets, 8 sets, anything like that, because your body has to have time to adapt, and you're only going to be as good as you can really recover from what you're doing. So really just focusing on 2 to 3 sets will be a good way to progress from there.
How many repetitions of an exercise should be performed?
I would look at performing in the range of 8 to 12. And this would be a good way to help get a lot of benefits that you would obtain from doing, say, lower rep ranges, which might be geared more towards building muscular strength because you're using heavier weights. But it's also a middle ground for when you would do more muscular endurance related training, which is when you might use repetitions up to even 15, 20, and so on.
How do you know what weight you should use?
It's important to think about what you can handle for the rep range with the right form. So you should never use weight that you can't either safely or correctly perform the movement with. So you want to start with a weight that you make a good estimate if you're new to that exercise or you're just learning it. So you play it on the safe side, pick something you can do towards the higher end of that rep range. So let's say it was at 12 reps. And then once you're comfortable with it and you figure out you can do that efficiently and effectively, and you need more of a challenge, that's when you need to start getting the heavier weight. But it's also to remember as your sets go on, the workout goes on, your fatigue's going to start to set in. So that's always important to remember.
How do you control your breathing?
When you think about performing in any exercise, or most exercises, I should say, you want to think about breathing out during the hardest part. So when the weight is pushing up, like if you're on a bench press and you're pushing the bar up, or the dumbbells up, that's when you want to be breathing your air out. And you want to think about inhaling through your nose when that weight is coming back down. So if you're at the top, you just push that weight up, you're going to breathe in through your nose, and then the weight comes back towards your chest, and then you want to push that air out through your mouth.
How should you consider range of motion?
You want to try to strive for full range of motion in all the exercises. And a good example of this, if we go back to a chest press, either with dumbbells or barbells, if you were to not fully push the weight up, if you were to stop, say, halfway where your arms are still significantly bent, that would be an example of not going through the full range of motion. So on that exercise in particular, you'd want to go all the way up, not where your elbows are locking out hard, but your arms should be pretty much straight. And you want to bring the weight all the way back down your chest. So in this type of movement, you would be getting the full range of motion, which means you're going to be getting all the benefits of that exercise, which brings in consideration how effectively you're working your muscles. So you want to make sure you're getting all the benefits by going through your full range and challenging the muscles, getting the most from doing your exercises.
As a beginner, how often should you strength train every week?
A good number of sessions per week. Just talking about the resistance training portion would be 2 to 3 times per week. And with that frequency, you would want to do it on non-consecutive days, especially following full body training. So for instance, if you're working the entire body on, say, Monday, you don't want to go ahead and do that the very next day on Tuesday. So if you were going to do 3 days a week, then you would want to work out your whole body starting out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So the idea is you always have a day in between so that you can help your muscles recover. There isn't really a benefit, especially doing full body work in one session and then doing that the next day. Your body needs time to recover from doing those same type of movements and exercises.
Is it normal to feel sore after you work out?
Yes, it's normal, and sometimes clients or anybody training, they say they're very sore the next day, or they might surprise you and say I actually wasn't very sore from that workout. So this basically goes to say that people respond differently in terms of how their body feels. What we call this is DOMS, which is delayed onset muscle soreness. This typically occurs the day after, in most cases, from your workout. It's when you really start to feel your muscles ache. So it's nothing really to be alarmed about. It's something that your body has to go through. You got to recover. So that's why it's important to always remember, make sure you're getting the proper amount of sleep and fueling your body appropriately. And also doing your stretching and in recovery to make sure that your body maintains that ability to recover from the session. You don't want to go through that period of feeling sore without, doing stretching on a daily basis, or making sure that you're not adequately eating nutritious foods, because that will just delay the process.
What is a top common myth about resistance training?
I would say a big myth is that you can spot reduce, talking about spot reducing body fat with particular exercises. Um, and a lot of that goes into the thought that, if you're going to work a certain area of your body, like let's say you feel like you want to lose some of the size on your upper arms for some people, then, you really are thinking about, if I'm going to do overhead extensions, then that's really going to burn off the fat on that part of my arm. Well, that's just not how the body works. So everything has to be right conditions for the body to lose fat. So talking about, being um, in a lower energy intake in terms of calories than what your body is actually burning in terms of calories. So once everything with that is set, then your body is going to lose fat from multiple areas at the same time. So you're not going to be able to trick your body or get your body to just lose from one area just by focusing on it from particular exercises.
Tune in for upcoming Let's Move podcasts with Jesse Havens. In upcoming episodes, Jesse will discuss setting up weight training programs based on different goals such as adding muscle and increasing muscle definition. Thank you for listening. Please contact fitnessc@imf.org to let us know what you'd like to learn about the latest in your audio for health, wellness, and fitness needs.